Hello, it is Heather from the Reading Mama, and today I have a tag video from Taylor at Tale to Tay, and I believe somebody else is sharing this, but I will put them below with all the prompts. The America the Beautiful tag is to celebrate 250 years of America. That's our birthday this year, so to speak. And so we have all these prompts that go along with the song there, and Americana in general. But I decided to do all middle grade books and mostly series. So I'm going to go through the prompts, and you will see that many of these hit multiple prompts. So forgive me if I have a lot there. So the very first one is In God We Trust, a book with Christian faith and Christian fiction. And several of these are going to hit that prompt, so I will get to that one in a minute. Next one was Old Glory, a book that elicits strong emotion. So hear me out. I asked my oldest just now, what's a book that made us cry? She goes, well, they kind of all make you cry. And she talked about when animals die or something tragic happens and I cry and then they laugh at me. And that's pretty true because my kids are heartless. If you know how Old Yeller starts, it just didn't even faze my kid. I don't know if they just don't like dogs. What? It made my husband and I tear up. He had seen the movie. I never saw the movie until I was an adult because I just didn't want to. But it tells you the ending of the movie in like the very first page of Old Yeller. And so we were prepared, but my kids are heartless, and so it was emotional for me, but not so much them. Another emotional book I would recommend for middle grade would be The Lost Year by Catherine March. If you haven't read this yet, I highly recommend it. It shows 3 different characters across 2 timelines. So you have a boy in 2020 who is dealing with all the ramifications of the pandemic and everything that happened, and he uncovers his grandmother's diary, or what he thinks is his grandmother's diary. And then you follow what he's going through as he tries to converse and get to know his grandmother a little bit better as she's moved in with them to avoid the nursing home scene. Anyways, there's a lot that goes into that. It's a little bit emotional, not too much. But the other timeline that you're following is in the 1930s, and you follow a girl in America and her cousin in what is today Ukraine, but then was the Soviet Union, and the I forget what the Holodomor, which is a horrific famine that was government influenced, and yeah, it is a very interesting tale. It gives you a sight into the communist regime and what it was like there. Very eye-opening, but it is very heartbreaking. So you could use this also for a political intrigue, I think, because you see so much of what communist life was like in that during those time periods. And so I had originally picked it because I thought, oh, it's during the Depression time, but it doesn't touch on that too much. It talks a little bit about the Depression here in America, but not much. You follow a lot of what's going on in the Ukraine area and what was happening in 2020. And so that was very emotional. Highly recommend. Okay, the next prompt is a superpower, or which is a main character with a unique ability or a big epic book. So several of these again could qualify, but I'm gonna grab the Restorationist series. I love this. Now I haven't read book 3 yet. It's been sitting on my TBR. My kids have, but we highly recommend these books. So in these books, the children of this particular family, and there are some others too, can travel into paintings, and through that they can help to influence or de-influence, I don't know, help influence people's perception and emotions of the artwork. And that makes it affects a lot of different things. There are a lot of Christian nuances in here, so this is also a very strongly Christian book, even though it doesn't come out and say it. It is a fantasy. It's very fun. You have some amazing family characters here, and each one is following a different person through the stories, and each one focuses primarily on one artist, but it goes through a lot of artists. It has some really great artwork throughout, and just some different heavy topics. So I get emotional when I'm reading these aloud to my kids, but I thought they were really wonderful. It also has concepts of like adoption, estranged family, just a lot of different family dynamics, let's put it that way. And so I highly recommend that. Then the next one was American Dream, a book with a great family. That's a great family. All of these, okay, most of these have really great families, but I went ahead and picked the Pinderwicks. We only have book 1 because I feel like it gets a little more mature in some of the books, and I don't necessarily, my kids are just now getting to the teen years, so I didn't feel like they were necessarily appropriate. We've done these on audiobooks as a family though, and really enjoyed them. But the Pinderwicks is such a fun family. As a family, when we picked it up, I think I had 5 daughters. This is a book about 4 daughters, and so we really enjoyed it. This first one, it's subtitle is A Summer Tale of Four Sisters, Two Rabbits, and a Very Interesting Boy. The sisters and their father go to a cottage that they rent for the summer. He's some kind of professor. The mother has died. That plays heavily into the story, just so you know. And yeah, it's just really sweet. You see the different characters of the different children and how they interact with people, how the loss of their mother has impacted them, because a lot of times, you know, the mom has died and you just move on, but this really goes into the impact of that. And then just some relationships and fun that they get to meet with another family who is not as great as theirs. And yeah, like Mr. Penderwick is awesome in this. Definitely highly recommend. It's a great family. Like I said, most of these are going to have a really, really great family. Then it's a book with political intrigue, and that's a lot of them. So, okay, maybe not Old Yeller. You could do political intrigue in the other one. And then also I have Mysterious Benedict Society. If you haven't read Mysterious Benedict Society, it is phenomenal. They are thick. They have some amazing, I think there's another one, but they are a very interesting tale, because you're getting a lot of different like misfits who are kind of genius level, or they have some kind of skill or talent, and so you could actually do that for a unique ability as well. And they come together to work with a group to try to take down another group who is, it's been a while since I read it, so I don't have a lot of specifics, but I also don't want to give it away. And they're coming up against some nefarious characters that they need to help deal with. We did the first one in audiobook and really enjoyed it, and then I did the others on audiobook. My kids have loved reading them. Even though they're thicker, they are an enjoyable. I don't know how they compare to the Disney Channel show. I know that the show or movie was made. I don't know, we don't have that, but I really enjoyed this, and so did my kids. And for political intrigue, I have another book that is kind of standalone middle grade, but it hits almost all of these. So Harlow Morgan and the Sky City by Lindsay Llewellyn. I love Lindsay Llewellyn. She is a phenomenal indie Christian author who does great things with fantasy. So this is a Christian book with some Christian faith in it. It has some strong emotion in it. It has an amazing main character, Harlow Morgan, with a unique ability that I'm not going to give away. Great family in here, a lot of political intrigue, and it hits kind of all the rest of these as well. But in this story, you have Harlow Morgan and her sister Briar, and they are at a school in a city that has outlawed magic. But they meet some people who have embraced magic to an extent, as it serves the creator, the cultivator is what they call it in this story. And this first book is really setting a lot up. There's a lot of adventure, a lot of intrigue, and a lot of things going on that you're starting to get the wisps of the political intrigue that's going on in their kingdom and the kingdom that the other characters are from, but you're just getting a taste of it because this is the first book. I don't know how many there will be, but it is so much fun. There's a lot of engineering. There's a lot of she's a pilot who flies, and they have like cities that float. There's just so many fun things going on. It reads really fast paced. It's really great. And yeah, I didn't think there were illustrations, but I couldn't remember because it feels like a movie in mind when I read it, and it was just phenomenal. So I highly recommend that. All right, a book series you are fiercely loyal to for Pledge of Allegiance, and that is going to be Green Ember. No, not Wing Feather. I will get to Wing Feather. Green Ember. We have made other people fall in love with Green Ember because we love Green Ember so much. There are several more books. There are lots of novellas that tell side stories or prequels and things like that. Oh, I should have grabbed Helmer. There's a new one that came out recently that tells about one of the characters in here, and it's supposed to be really good, but I haven't read it yet. My kids have. We love Green Ember, as indicated by our Falling Apart book. I read it a lot to the kids. I did the audiobook for the whole series by myself to pre-read. I have several kids who have read it several times all the way through. We just really love this amazing story. Christian fiction, has strong emotion, unique abilities. I mean, they're rabbits who can fight. That's kind of unique. Great family, a lot of political intrigue, and we are fiercely loyal to S.D. Smith and his writing because we have all but one of the books that literally just came out a couple weeks ago. Really love the story. You follow a family of rabbits, and rabbits in general, as they fight to save their kingdom from the birds of prey and the wolves. And that's all I'm going to give you. It goes in a lot deeper. It's really great fantasy. It's got nuances of Christian faith, not overhanded or anything like that. It's, if you weren't a Christian, you wouldn't notice it. If you are a Christian, you notice it. that make sense? But it is just phenomenal, and I love every minute of it, and we're very loyal to it. And then it says, oh, say, can you see a book that surprised you and gave you chills at the end? I am going to say the Winged Feather Saga. Now, I have these out of order. Let's put them in order. So, I really didn't pick it up for the longest time because the first book is called On the Edge of the Dark Sea of Darkness, and that just felt dark and trite. And but yeah, it's phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. You laugh out loud, and the ending gets really intense. So if you're gonna have your middle grade read it by themselves, you might want to pre-read the last couple books by yourselves because it gets very, very intense. We have a chosen one trope, and it gets intense. But that said, I absolutely loved it. I chose to read the first 3 aloud to my kids, and then when they were old enough, they could read book 4 on their own. You do you. Many of my kids have read the whole series, really loved it. Like I said, it's got a lot of funny, laugh out loud things. You're following an amazing family who is being chased by the powers that be and have to go on the run. They're not really sure all the things that are going on, and they learn a family secret along the way. And yeah, it's just a really fun fantasy world with a lot of really neat, like they'll have these little notes. Do not skip the end notes here because they tell more background about the culture, about the country, about the people, about the animals. It's just so fun. Very witty, but it also has a lot of big, heavy topics as you go through with oldest child, second child, and all of those different concepts. But really loved it. This was actually the one that my daughter said, this is the one you cried at because of the animal. And I was like, yes, I did, and you're heartless. But anyways, then it says A Melting Pot, a book that is a blend of 2 genres. I didn't grab the whole thing because it's like 8 books. But the Missing series, and I talked about this in my Margaret Peterson Haddix video, historical fiction meets science fiction. Phenomenal, absolutely love it. This would be maybe a little bit higher middle grade, maybe might want to be YA. I don't know. I feel like my middle schoolers can handle this. 4th grade would be too young, maybe 6th grade and above. But the first book really sets up the rest of it. The rest of them are much more historical fiction based, whereas this is a little touch of it. But basically you're following a young man who's adopted, and he wants to know more about his birth family, and along the lines he uncovers political intrigue, a whole different gamut of things from the future, from the past. Yeah, there's a lot that goes on in the whole series, and each story, the first one, like I said, is kind of standalone, and then the rest go historical fiction because each one follows a different like historical event. So you have like the Romanovs, and you have, I don't remember them all. There was like Sir Francis Drake, maybe, I don't know. No, it was the Hudson Bay guy. And so you have all these different historical people that you're following that have to do with the characters in this first book. So I highly recommend that for one that blends. Several of these would fit for blending, I think. And then the last one is Secret 6, a book with espionage. So I grabbed the Spy School. Now, there is espionage in several of these books because you get some in The Mysterious Benedict. You get a little bit in here. I'm figuring later on you will. You get a little bit of espionage in here. You get some espionage in Green Ember. There's some espionage on the Winged Feather. So there's a little bit in all these middle grade books. But Spy School is really fun. I don't let my kids read past book 12 because book 13 starts introducing some concepts that I am not comfortable with my children knowing. But books 1 through 12, phenomenal, hilarious, so much fun. Young kid joins CIA. It's like a junior CIA, and he joins up, and yeah, there's just a lot of things that go on. They take down different people, different groups. He has some friends. He struggles to blend in because they've been there a while. He's come late. There's a lot of different concepts in each book. It has a different one. Like we only own the first 3, so I'm not buying the whole series. That's what the library's for. But we really enjoyed that. I haven't read other Stuart Gibbs books. I'm not blanket. Some of these authors, almost all the other authors, I would say, yeah, anything by them, great. I'm not going to give you a blanket statement on Stuart Gibbs because, like I said, in book 13, he started introducing things that I'm not comfortable with. But the first 12 books, phenomenal, so much fun. They're pretty quick reads, and you follow mostly I think you follow the boy through all of them. I can't remember. He recommends it for ages 8 to 12. I really enjoyed it. My kids have enjoyed it. We've got some other friends to enjoy it. What's not to enjoy about kids pretending to be spies? And so that's what's going on. And then the last tag is westward expansion. And I will say most of these books, like I said, did hit the In God We Trust. They were many Christian. This was not. There were many that were Christian focused. So if you want to know, let me know. Last tag, westward expansion, tag a few others. I will tag you below because off the top of my head, I don't remember everybody's handle. So thank you so much for watching and have a blessed day.